Okay, so included with the project are some art files, which we're going to use to create our world completely, basically. So I have the files open here, and all we're going to do is grab the file marked sprites, because that has transparency on it, because we want to be able to, basically what we're going to do is chop it up into little pieces, and then we're able to use all the individual elements to make our world. So I'm going to click on this and drag it in here into our assets folder. So we've got our sprites in here, and we've got it in our project folder and in our main kind of assets file. But we're going to start adding more and more items to our project as we go. So we want a way to be able to break all of them out into their own separate areas, so they're easy to find and easy to have. So what we're going to do is right click here and go to create folder, and we'll call this folder our art folder, and we're going to drag our sprites and put that in there. Okay, so now we need to set up this sprites file. So if we click on it over in our inspector here, it'll give us a whole bunch of information. So what we want to do is, because there's loads and loads of pieces on it that we want to use, we want to set our sprite mode to be multiple, because we want to get a whole load of pieces out of it. Our pixels per unit is something that we want to set based on the size of the objects that are in the pack here, and just based on how the pack is made, the pixels per unit is 21, so we want to set that like that. We'll turn off generate maps, because that's more used for 3D gaming, and it's not something that we need to be concerned about with a 2D platformer. We want to change filter mode to point, and what that'll do is make sure that all the pieces remain sharp. If we were to put it on one of the other settings, then it kind of makes everything just a little bit blurry. We want to set our max size. What we want to do with max size is basically how the game stores the file. So if we look down here, we can see the dimensions of the file is 692 by 692. So what we want to do is set it the closest number that's above that. So if we were to set it, say, 512, what it'll actually do, it'll make the file, it'll try to compress the file, and it'll make it a little bit blurry, and that's not what we want. So we want to go with 1024. We could go higher if we wanted to, but all that's doing is using up more memory, and that's never good. You always want to be keeping your memory usage as low as you possibly can. And then change our format here to be true color, so that again it shows all the colors perfectly. If we were to use a different one, like if we were to use compressed, we'll get kind of weird artifacts and stuff on the images, which we don't want at all. Okay, so we'll hit apply here, and then we'll go into the sprite editor. So in the sprite editor, we can see all the pieces that we have here, and basically this is how we're going to break it out into lots of different pieces. And we could, if you were working on a sheet that only had, say, 4 or 5 things, and they weren't like nicely ordered like this is, what you could do is just literally just click and drag around a piece, and then as soon as we hit apply, that'll become an object in our world. So we could just do that with a few like this, and we'd have 3 pieces that we could use in our game then out of the whole sheet. But that's not what we want to do. So I'm going to undo those by hitting Control and Z. And what we're going to do is just make it automatically slice up the whole file. So we'll go to slice up here, and then we'll do grade by cell size. So as I said, the pixels, we know that each block is 21 by 21, because we set our pixels per unit to be 21 back there. So we're going to say pixel size is 21 by 21. If we just zoom in here, we can see between each tile there's like a pixel gap of 2 between each one. So we want to set the padding on each of these to be 2, and then, although it's kind of hard to tell because of the way the stuff is laid out in the corners here, there's a gap of 2 to the left here and a gap of 2 to the top here. So what will happen if we were to do it just as it is now, it'll start drawing the boxes right in the top corner, and then it'll move 2 pixels over and then draw the next one. So what we want to do is put some offset in here. So we'll have 2 and 2, so that it'll move in 2, and it'll move down 2, and then it'll start in this corner here basically, and then it'll move over the exact amount to cover the next one. So we're going to hit slice now, and then that'll chop up the sheet into little bits. It might take a couple of seconds, or depending on how fast your computer is, how long it'll take, but it'll break everything out into a whole bunch of pieces for us. Okay, so when all these boxes appear like this means it's being all sliced up. So as you can see, if we go down, all these areas now have little boxes around them. But one of the handy things about this is if there's basically an empty space where a box is being drawn, like down here in the corner, for example, it won't draw a box in, so you won't be left with a load of empty boxes. There's more here. See, there's empty space in here and empty space here. So that's very handy because you don't want to end up with a whole load of empty sprites filling up your world that are no use to you. And as you can see, everything is it's all divided out nicely. There's no overlap of anything. So then we'll hit apply, and this will make everything work in our editor itself. And once this goes kind of grayish, then we can close this window here. And then in our art folder in here, we've got a little arrow beside the sprite sheet, and if we hit that, we can see all the sprites that we've created. And now that they're all broken out into little pieces like this, once we start making our game, we can just take whatever piece we need, like this, and just drag it into the world and make use of it like that. So we've got our 4 little things here like this, and that's fine. And because we did an automatic sprite sheet, all the pieces are now numbered starting from 0 up to, how far are we going? 861. So as you can tell, there's a lot of pieces here on this sheet. So if you wanted to, if we go back to our sprite, click on the main sheet here and go to our sprite editor, what you could do is click on any random one and you could rename it here. Say, what is that thing that we just did? That's a bit of snowy ground. So if we said snowy ground 1, for example, we could save that by hitting apply, and then out here in back in our project files, it would be renamed to snowy ground 1. But we don't want to do that because that's way too time consuming to go through and do all that, and none of that will ever be seen by the player. So we know we've got this one sprite sheet with everything like this, so we understand it. And one final thing, the way the numbers are going is basically, if we just open this up one more time, it's basically going from top left across and then down in rows. So as you can see, we've got, if we just look here, we can see we've got these little bit of ground tiles. So it goes across there to the ground tiles. We've got these little bits of water and these kind of little lava bits, which are here. So basically it just breaks up the sheet into lines across the way like that. So we'll get rid of these guys here, and then we'll actually start making our first level.